true and when that's very important to the company, then accountability becomes the focus. We now turn our attention to risk analysis. Risk analysis is the task of recognizing a risk to the corporation, assigning a value to the information assets affected by the risk, estimating the potential loss caused by the risk, and developing a countermeasure. So, the steps necessary to follow in doing risk analysis are to assign value to information and assets, estimate potential loss per risk, perform a threat analysis, derive the overall loss potential per risk, choose countermeasures to the risk, and then determine total risk and residual risk. Now, let me illustrate with a common procedure for doing this. Consider a chart here where on the left-hand side we will list our information assets. And then we're going to list what the impact would be to the organization if that asset was compromised. Then we're going to list the likelihood of compromise. Okay. The multiplication of the impact times the likelihood will be the total risk for that particular information asset. Then we're going to have a column here where we talk about the mitigation strategy or procedure or plan. And then we're going to have the budgetary concern here. What is the cost in dollars to implement that mitigation procedure? Okay, and then other comments out to the side. All right, so let's talk about what this looks like to fill this out a little bit here. Consider that we have an information asset that is our, let's say, our web server. Okay, now, what might be a potential threat to the web server? Well, we could have it infected by viruses. Okay, we might have we might have a bot planted on it. We might have a maintenance hook, which should not be used, but sometimes the programmers do, and they might leave those in place, which it makes those vulnerable. We might have potential unauthorized access to the secure areas on the web server, etc. So we would list several potential compromises to the security of our information asset, the web server. All right, now when we talk about the impact, it's not necessary to go to excruciatingly detailed studies of exactly how precise an impact do we estimate this to be. It's usually sufficient for these two categories of things here just to have, say, 3 would be high impact, 2 would be a medium or moderate impact, 1 would be a low impact, and 0 would be no impact at all. So just using that grading scale, a virus infection on our web server would have a pretty high impact. Okay, and now we ask, what is the likelihood of compromise? Well, what is the likelihood that a web server is going to, over a a year period of time or whatever, incur a virus infection. And again, it's going to depend on what kinds of protection mechanisms you already have in place. But let's say that we consider this to be a moderate risk. So we'll put that as a 2. What is the impact if a bot is planted? That could be a fairly serious impact. What is the likelihood that that's going to happen? We may judge that to be a low likelihood. What is the impact if a maintenance hook becomes discovered by somebody other than the maintenance personnel? That impact would potentially be pretty serious. What is the likelihood that that's going to happen? We might judge that to be a 1. I mean, again, a lot of this is going to be subjective. It's just that the analysis needs to be done. What is the impact if we have unauthorized access? If some hacker gets in and starts being able to download files from our web server, well, we may consider that pretty high impact in terms of corporate liability. What is the likelihood that that's going to happen? Let's say that we judge that to be a moderate likelihood. All right, so now for total risk, we're going to multiply these together. So 2 times 2 is 4, 1 times 3 is 3, 1 times 2 is 2, 2 times 3 is 6. Okay, so it should be apparent to you that total risk could go anywhere from 0 to 9 if we had 2 3s multiplying by each other. Now, our company is going to have some decision criteria for which of these we need to design mitigation strategies for. And we might just have a policy that says anything above 4 must have a mitigation strategy for it. And it's acceptable as a mitigation strategy as far as the courts are concerned, as far as legal liability is concerned, that you just look at this and you say, okay, well, having a bot planted is a low enough likelihood that our mitigation strategy is going to be none. In other words, we're not going to address that in any way other than what we're already doing. It may be that our concern over maintenance hooks is so low that we'll have no mitigation strategy for that also. But this issue of virus infection, this has a risk that falls above our threshold. Again, this would be a management policy, and it would be not necessarily arbitrary, but different for each company. And let's just say, for the sake of argument, that our company's policy is anything above 3. We must develop a mitigation strategy for that. And so our mitigation strategy for this might be to put in a series of audits, to upgrade our antivirus protection, to upgrade our firewall. That might be our mitigation strategy associated with this particular potential problem. Relative to unauthorized access, this is fairly high. All right, so we may want to, again, implement a series of audits. We may want to develop new policies for access control, etc., whatever else we decide to do here. Now, over here under the cost column, we ask the question, what is going to be the cost to implement these new audits, to upgrade the antivirus software, to upgrade the firewall? We'd go out and get estimates on that, and who knows what that would turn out to be. Let's say that that's going to run us $7,000 to do that. These, of course, have no cost. And then relative to the audits and new policies, et cetera, is associated with unauthorized access, this may have, I don't know, fairly low cost. Let's say that's just going to be time on the part of management, and we're estimating that to be on the order of $1,500. So over here we might put comments like who is going to be responsible for this, responsible party. To ensure that this happens is going to be, Jim Brown or whoever we assign to that. We might want to have a time frame on this. This has to be implemented